Hello and welcome to a live episode of Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I am your host, Keri, and it's a beautiful day here in Texas. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. Today is Friday, May 31st. Just a heads up, tomorrow begins corporate pandering month. Going to be seeing a lot of these insufferable, the new pride flags. I wonder if they've updated all the flags yet and put the umbrella and all the other stuff on it. So get ready. It's coming. Get your memes ready. It's going to be a crazy, demoralizing month unless we have fun with it. So I hope you're prepared to mock it. I think it's time we all start loudly with a lot of joy mocking it. That's how I think about it. So there's some big news yesterday. Did anything big happen yesterday? I was watching along with a lot of you. Oh man, it seemed like everybody was on Twitter, on X last night. I was watching along with a lot of you all the responses and to Trump's guilty verdict. So Trump was convicted on 34 counts of something that has never been prosecuted before. It's unprecedented. This is why a lot of people find this to be such a travesty of justice. He was basically here. Let me pull this up for a second because I think this is a good explanation. If you are joining us and you're on the left, I invited you guys to join us today because I think a lot of you don't understand the reaction. I think a lot of you, I saw you celebrating, a lot of famous leftists and a lot of friends who are leftists. I saw all of these posts that were very much in celebration, like, woo, we got him, he's guilty. And I think a lot of you were thinking that it would hurt his popularity, that we would see a decline in his popularity. I haven't thought that from the beginning. I was thinking we'd see a jump in his popularity, and that seems to be exactly what's happening. And so I invited you, if you're on the left, to come and join us here today because you may not understand. And if you want to understand, I'm going to attempt to explain it as best I can from my point of view, what's happening. Um, I don't say this to be condescending. I think a lot of times you guys are shocked by things. I was one of you. I was one of those people who cried in 2016 when Trump won. I was completely taken by surprise. I think that you guys don't understand. Well, first of all, you don't understand the so-called other side. If you look at statistics, if you look at polls, both sides, conservatives and liberals, or if you, let's say both parties, Republicans and Democrats, both sides, so-called sides, don't understand a lot about the other side. If you look at stats, I had to look this up once for a panel I was moderating, and it was kind of shocking because, well, actually, it wasn't shocking. It made sense. In the past few decades, the ability to correctly articulate the positions of the opposing side, we've been declining in that. We've been losing the ability to even accurately state their positions. But that's even more widespread on the left. You see that the left is even more incapable of doing so. And that was not surprising because I was in the woke left for 20 years. And turns out I didn't actually know a whole lot about what conservatives thought or why they thought it. Turns out I was wrong about a lot of it. And so I think it's really important if you're on the left, let's say you hate Trump people, or you hate people on the right, or you have a lot of emotion about it, a lot of anger. um Put that aside for a moment. If you are someone who says that you would like to reach across the aisle, because I've seen some of you, I try to talk to you guys in particular, the ones who say you want to reach across the aisle, you want to convert conservatives, you want to bring them over to your side. Well, let's say that's your goal. First of all, you have to understand them to be able to do that. You actually have to understand what they think, how they look at the world, what their positions are. You have to be able to accurately articulate what those are. And who is it? What's that famous quote? Is it John Stuart Mill who said, the person who is unable to articulate the other side's opinions, I'm mangling it, I'm paraphrasing, but they have a very, very little understanding of their own position. If you can't articulate the position of the other side, you can't articulate your own. So it behooves you to try and understand conservatives better. If that's your goal, to reach across the aisle and bring them over to your way of thinking. And so that's what we're going to try to do here today, is help you understand a little bit more, because you're probably shocked. My husband saw a tweet that he was telling me about it. I don't have it pulled up because he couldn't find it. It was a needle in a haystack. But he saw a tweet last night that was sort of one of those cool story bro tweets. But this guy, this lefty, had tweeted, I'm in a really MAGA part of the country, like a really MAGA town. And I'm at the supermarket and I ran into some MAGA people that I know, and nobody seems upset about the verdict. Nobody's even talking about the verdict. They're just talking about normal things. And it was almost like he was deflated. Like the tweet was like, I don't understand. Why aren't they upset? Why are they going about life as usual? And so if that's you, welcome. We're going to try and help you understand a little better. So let's start with this. First of all, why do people who were following the trial, even in the slightest bit, even if you're just barely following it, why did they call this lawfare? Legal warfare. Why do they call it lawfare? Because let me bring up this headline. This is from CNN in 2017. Representative Thomas Massey shared this today. I remember when this news broke. This is when I was first coming out of the cult. And I remember this story at the time. The headline, Congress paid out $17 million in settlements. Here's why we know so little about that money. Now, these are settlements to make sexual harassment claims go away. And it's not just $17 million. This is $17 million in taxpayer money. To make these go away. Now, Trump was prosecuted for allegedly paying his own money, not his campaign dollar, his own money, $100 and something thousand to get Stormy Daniels not to talk about their affair. Do I believe Trump had an affair? I do. Do I believe he paid that money? Possibly. I don't know. They say it was a bookkeeping error. Who knows? But the ways in which the law is used unequally to persecute him, yes, they targeted him. They're trying to pull up any obscure little thing they can from 10 years ago to say, we're going to get him. This is so bad. Of using his own money to pay this alleged mistress to be quiet. Meanwhile, Congress itself, if they want to open themselves up to this, they've paid out over $17 million in the taxpayers' money to do the same thing, to tell mistresses to be quiet. Hush money. Let's go through this just a little bit. Two things have become painfully clear on Capitol Hill this week. Again, this is from 2017. Lawmakers and staffers say that sexual harassment is rampant, but even members of Congress have no idea just how widespread the problem is. The controversial and sensitive issue has taken center stage in Congress this week, with female lawmakers making fresh allegations of sexual harassment against unnamed members who are currently in office, and the unveiling of a new bill on Wednesday to change how sexual harassment complaints are reported and resolved. On Thursday, a woman shared her story of being groped and kissed without her consent by Senator Al Franken in 2006. By the way, just a little side note here. I know he was a Democrat. I like Al Franken. And I think this allegation, it's a whole side thing, but that was BS about him in particular. So far, there's been little specific data to help illuminate just how pervasive sexual harassment is on Capitol Hill. But one figure has emerged: the total that the Office of Compliance, the office that handles the harassment complaints, has paid to victims. The Office of Compliance is paying this money. On Thursday, the Office of Compliance released additional information indicating that it has paid victims more than $17 million of our money, taxpayer money, our money. That's coming in, that's collected in taxes. It's not money that's donated to a candidate. It's not his money. It's not, his own money from business dealings or whatever. Their own money. This is money from the Office of Compliance that we fund, has paid $17 million to hush people up in settlements. Since its creation in the 1990s, that includes all settlements, not just related to sexual harassment, but also discrimination in other cases. The OOC has come under fire in recent days for what lawmakers and Hill aides say are its antiquated policies that do not adequately protect victims who file complaints. CNN also learned that during the current Congress, no settlement payment approval requests have been made to the congressional committee charged with approving them. When was this money paid out? According to a report from the Office of Compliance, more than $17 million has been paid out over a period of 20 years from 1997 to 2017. How many settlements have there been? 268 settlements during that time period. Where did the settlement money come from? CNN admits taxpayers. Yeah, we paid for it. We paid this hush money. How many of them were sexual harassment related? It's not clear. Speer told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that the 260 settlements represent those related to all kinds of complaints. So they're not exactly sure how many were sexual harassments, but we know of some of them that were. So this is why, if you were on the left and you're wondering why people on the right or in the middle or libertarians or even some of your progressive friends, honestly, I've seen the progressives who are following this, like Destiny, huge progressive YouTube streamer, are calling this a travesty of justice because they used unequal application of the law to target their political opponent. There are people on Twitter, you may have seen them. Maybe you have, maybe you're not so far in the cult that you've unfriended every conservative in your life. I've seen conservative friends posting about this is irrevocably changed the election process. Because now, I mean, they've shown there's no link they won't go to. So now it's open season. Open season. If we were to do what they do, open season on trying to find any misdemeanor that you can and prosecute from 10 years ago, whatever, and prosecute it, and unequal application of the law, right? Lawfare, that's what it is. It's trying to take him out through lawfare. And the people who aren't, the leftists who aren't following this case, they don't know what it's about, but they're so excited that it's a guilty conviction. They're so excited. They don't know what he's guilty of, but they are like, yeah, we got him. I saw a great meme. Of that. Here, let me just put this up because this cracks me up. This is what we think of you guys. If you were wondering why our posts were somewhat celebratory last night, I mean, one of my friends, Clifton Duncan, I saw he tweeted, he said, Democrats are so soft on crime, they just put a convicted felon in the White House. We were laughing because you guys don't understand. You understand so little that you thought this was going to hurt him in the polls or hurt his popularity. And we knew all along it was going to have the opposite effect. If he got convicted in this sham trial, it was going to have the opposite effect. And we've already seen that. His poll numbers are up. I'm about to go through this and show you his poll numbers are up. His donation is off the charts. He raised over $35 million last night alone. He's got people flipping and switching. People, some of the millionaires posting about how now they're going to vote MAGA now, who they weren't on board before. He's got libertarians saying they're going to vote for him now. He's got anarchists, people who haven't voted in years, who gave up on the system, who are coming off the bench. My friend said, I'm coming off the bench after years and years of not voting to vote for him. He's got RFK people who were saying, well, I'm going to vote for him now. Why? To stick it to the system. That's why. It's not even about him. You think we care about him? Some of the really MAGA people do. Do you think I am personally like, oh no, it's all, I don't, it's not about him. It's bigger than him. You guys don't get that. My husband and I were in Europe last year when they arrested him and put his mugshot out. And a table of Germans at this outside music venue that we were at, a table of Germans could tell we were American, and they started asking us. They were very interested to have a conversation with us. It was a cool conversation, but they were asking, who are you going to vote for? And I was DeSantis, I was explaining, but they said, if he wins in the primary, you're going to vote for him. I'm like, yeah, if he wins the primary, I'm going to vote for him. And they thought the mugshot coming out and everything was gonna hurt him, and I was trying to explain to them, "No, the left doesn't understand, and you guys don't understand. This is only gonna add to his lore. They just turned him into a martyr. Trump the persecuted. You Are you awake? Like, that's people are gonna eat that up." Like, this is only gonna help his popularity. And now we're seeing that's true with the guilty verdict. Here, look, this is the meme I wanted to show you. This was the people celebrating yesterday. This cracks me up. The sense of humor. Look at this. It's an excited lefty. I'm not talking about liberals, by the way, guys. If you're new here and you're watching because I told you to come watch for explanation, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about lefties. I'm talking about authoritarian lefties who are very illiberal. My old cult, the woke social justice people, they're Marxist in origin. They're not liberals. This is one of these guys. He's all excited. His mouth is open. He's all excited and smiling. And he says, "Honey, bring your boyfriend in here. They got him. They got Trump." So if you don't follow Declaration of Memes, you should. He has some of the best memes. I love it. This is why you guys were celebrating, but we were also kind of, okay, let's go. Let's effing go. Let's do this now. I want to show you some of the responses. Well, actually, before we get into the responses of people who are coming off the bench to vote for Trump now, let's look at the money. Let's look at the money. So last night, Trump broke fundraising records. So he raised 35 million last night. This is a headline from Axios. Trump campaign hauls in 35 million, says it broke fundraising record after conviction. So right after the conviction, this is when I guess the left thought we would all be like, "Oh gosh, I can't vote for a felon. Oh my goodness, I guess this means he's bad. I guess this means he's worse than Biden," which is no, there's no comparison if you're in the real world. There's no comparison. I don't know, I guess they thought this would be like, "Oh, money's gonna plummet and popularity is gonna plummet." No, there were so many people going to his campaign donation page that it crashed his website. It crashed his site. 35 million. So some interesting things in here. Former President Trump's campaign said Friday it had 34.8 million windfall after he was convicted of 34 felonies, in his New York hush money trial. The presumptive GOP presidential nominees campaign said the haul was nearly double its previous single-day fundraising record. Trump's campaign said it was overwhelmed with support minutes after the guilty verdict was announced. That's true. Their site went down. And there were so many people donating that I saw, again, with the sense of humor. I got to show you guys this. This is so funny. Jack Posobiec shared this. I don't know where he got it, but maybe he looked it up himself. Everybody was sharing this last night because it's too funny. Somebody you can go on Google and see the popularity of search terms. There were so many people donating that it's like, congratulations, leftists. You just made donate to Trump more popular than boobs. More popular than boobs. Look at this. Boobs is in red. Boobs had a good run in the middle of the night. Lots of people were searching for boobs at around, from midnight until 4 a.m. You see it peaks there, and then it starts to fall off as people wake up and are going to work and not looking for boobs. The blue line here is the popularity of the search term donate to Trump. And it was pretty much dead down there at the bottom compared to boobs, which is huge. Boobs is one of the most popular search terms. And then it shot up after the guilty verdict. You made donate to Trump more popular than boobs. Congratulations. I don't think you'll ever see this for Biden. I don't think he'll ever beat boobs. He is a boob, but I don't think he'll ever beat boobs. Just so silly. Unlivian, RIP boobs, I already miss you. Yeah, they had a good run, but, Okay, let's continue this article because there's some other interesting stuff in here. So the contributions, the people that were donating to Trump last night, we saw lots of first-time contributors, including a millionaire, tech guy that I'm about to show you. But there were also lots of first-time donors and small donors, lots of them. These are people who've never donated to him before. Tim Cast, I think, said he donated to him and hasn't done it before. The Look at this, 29.7%, almost 30% of the contributors were brand new donors. Brand new donors, new people giving money. This is just Google searches for Donald Trump donation site, and other related searches surged as well. Yes, that's true. Speaking of the searches, let me just show you this before we get into the polls, because this is also very, very concerning. I mean, this is just because now, again, if you've been awake for a while, this doesn't surprise you at all. But if you're here visiting from the left, again, welcome. If you're a liberal, this may surprise you. So let me show you this. Google, of course, does what they do, which we know that they do. They're on the record doing. They manipulate search results. Look at this one. Manipulating search result order is election tampering. Well, yeah, doesn't matter though. They do it right. Are they going to get prosecuted for it? Is it going to be an equal application of laws? No. Google will put Joe Biden's Act Blue at the top of search results while Trump's site to donate is buried. This video was captured this morning. Look, how to donate to Trump. It doesn't even show up in the autofills where they tell you, like, it doesn't even pretend like it knows what you're looking for. You have to actually type in his full name because Google, they're not going to put that search result up there. And then when you search, you have to scroll way down to actually find his donation link. They bury the link itself in the results. They don't do this for Biden. I looked up Biden. You can test this yourself. First, it autofills it for you. Are you looking for donate to Biden? If you put the B in there, and then it's like first link, there's the link to donate. Of course they do this though. If you've been awake for a while, you know this. But if you're not, I always like to think of you guys who are new. Go and try this yourself if you're new. That was just an aside. Okay, so we looked at the money coming in, and I'm going to get back to that in a second because there's one of the high profile new donors who put in a lot of money, and I want to read you what he said about it. But before we get to that, because that'll take us in a new direction about why he's doing it. Before we get to that, let me just show you the polls. This is also quite funny to me. Rolling Stone and some others were posting all celebrating, like, honey, get your boyfriend in here. They're getting Trump. They got him. Rolling Stone was like that. They were all excited. They put, a ton of all caps, guilty, guilty, guilty. They wrote it out like 34 times. And so I just replied to them with these poll numbers because these were fascinating. Interactive polls. Now they do online polling, and again, polls, I always take polls with a grain of salt. You should. But this one happens to be reflective with the anecdotal evidence I'm seeing of, like I said, lots of people in my comments and everyone's comments I'm seeing online, lots of people coming off the bench who haven't voted in forever, libertarians flipping, RFK people flipping, all these people saying, undecideds flipping. I saw one of the tweets I'm going to show you. She said, fine, I guess I'm MAGA now. Like, so its popularity anecdotally seems to be surging. And this poll sort of coincides with that. This is from Interactive Polling, and they're just showing here since April some of the tracking they've done, and they polled people last night after the guilty verdict. And so if you start at April 15th, they had Trump at 46%, Biden at 45%, so he had a 1 point lead. Jump ahead a month to May 16th, and he had an 8-point lead, Trump at 50%, Biden at 42%. And then last night, post-conviction, an 18-point lead, jumps 10 points post-conviction, 18-point lead, Trump at 56%, Biden at 38%. This is just the pulse of the people in one online poll and comparing it to their previous polls. So you can see how he's been doing in their polls previously and their polls now. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but pretty funny. Pretty funny. Rolling Stone, you can type guilty all you want. People don't seem to care. It seems to be garnering him more support. So I guess it sucks to not understand things. I guess it sucks to not understand that this is obviously what was going to happen. I've got another poll here. Let me show you. Where is that one? Oh, this one. Daily Mail. Headline: Donald Trump gets a 6-point bump in approval after being found guilty on 34 counts, according to Snap Daily Mail poll. This is a different poll. This is the Daily Mail poll. Quote, I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. They're talking about the trial. Teflon Don rides again, according to an exclusive Snap poll for the Daily Mail, which found that the guilty verdict in Manhattan only improved the former president's standing with likely voters ahead of the 2024 election. Of those who said that 34 guilty counts had changed their view of Donald Trump, 22% said, yes, it did change my view, and I have a more favorable rating now. Yes, it did change my view. I'm voting for him now. That's what I'm seeing too. That's what I'm seeing from people. 22% said they had a more favorable rating now, compared with 16% who said, yes, they have a different view of him now and they view him more negatively. So more people are saying it influenced them in a positive way to vote for him. That 6-point net positive result is another sign of the way the businessman turned politician seems to be able to write out crises that would sink anyone else. Yeah, he does, right? In a tight election, it could be enough to get him across the finish line. Look at this. I think it was a waste of taxpayer money and will help propel Trump to a victory, said a 42-year-old hip-hop DJ from Illinois who voted for Biden in 2020. Here's a little graph you can see. Trump's favorability ratings after guilty verdict. That's pretty impressive. That's impressive. Okay. I've got something else to show you here that kind of backs that up. I shared this on my Facebook, and I was also cross-posting some of the things I was seeing on Twitter just to share it with the Facebook people. And this was from Lives of TikTok asked, does the guilty verdict change who you're voting for in November? And I thought this was indicative of what I expected to see. Here's a person saying, yes, it did change. It changed who I'm voting for. Yes, I no longer bother to waste my time voting, and I hate Trump. But this is such an outrage that I'm all in for Trump come November. I saw a lot of this last night, a lot of it. Here's the one I told you about. Fine, I guess I'm MAGA now. This girl. Look at this. Wait, there's some more. People were posting about how this is my friend here on the right. She says, I'm coming out of retirement to vote. Last person I voted for was Ron Paul in 2008. I've already registered as a Republican. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these people coming off the bench, so to speak, coming out of retirement. Look at this guy. I have never voted for Trump. I was not planning on voting for Trump, but I believe I'm now considering doing so. The Democrats have gone too far. This shit cannot stand. Here's another. Trump did stuff that upset me, especially his promotion of the vaccines. Yeah, you and me both, girl. Me too. I flirted with the idea of voting RFK, knowing it wouldn't matter in my state anyway. But because of this, of course, I'm voting for Trump. Yeah, I get you. We're in the same place. I had already decided, I supported DeSantis, but I had already decided, like I said, if Trump won, obviously I'm voting for him in the primary. But I've never been rah Trump. And if you follow me on social media, you know this to be true. I don't post about him barely at all, with the exception of yesterday and today, of course. But most of the stuff I post about is cultural and ideological. I'm posting about the COVID years. I'm posting about the things I care about, like woke ideology, my old belief system, getting people to leave it, it doesn't matter because the people who are in the woke cult, they're so obsessed with Trump and they understand so little that when a lot of the random drive-by attacks that I get are from people who just come in and they say, "Oh, you MAGA Trump shill, you da da da." It's like, have you even read my timeline? Like, when have I last posted about him? I'm not some Trump trained person. The point being, you've made me one. This made me one. What they tried to do to him last night, they will rue the day. I wasn't rah Trump. Of course, I was going to vote for him in the primaries, but I don't really like the guy. I didn't like what he did with vaccines. I didn't like that he wasn't forceful enough against the governors who were instituting lockdowns and jailing people for operating their small businesses while letting the big corporations stay open. I didn't like the way he didn't take it to big pharma. He didn't take it to Fauci. There were so many problems I had with him. But obviously I was still gonna vote for him in the primary because he's the lesser of two evils. The purpose of law, if you look at the purpose of law is to, in the public square, to punish evil and to reward good. I'm not gonna vote for Biden. That would be voting for the greatest evil at a magnitude so different than this guy that I don't like. Like, Joe Biden has publicly in the past 4 years, there's so many grievances. Let me just start with the biggest one. Publicly supported and celebrated mutilating and sterilizing children. One of the biggest medical scandals of our lifetime, one of the most evil mass atrocities that's currently being committed. This guy is doing that. So, you think I care that this other imperfect politician, narcissist Trump had an affair or what? I don't. Yeah, you got me. I think they're both immoral characters. Which one's going to wreak the most havoc on society and on the law? Obviously, Biden. Are you kidding me? Look at what he did with the lockdowns. Look at how he supported discriminating against Americans. Fascism. You guys talk about fascism all the time. That's what he was supporting. Government collusion with corporations to strip individual rights. He was for that. Not voting for that guy. He's not liberal. Trump is so much more liberal than him. And you're living you're only listening to the establishment. You're brainwashed. I'm sorry if you don't understand this yet. Maybe you've got some inkling of critical thinking still left in you. I did. That's what got me out of it eventually. Think about this. Look objectively at these two guys and tell me which one has done in his 4 years as president has done more evil. Biden was doing stuff like having his he had the CDC saying that that landlords couldn't evict people, interfering in something it's not part of their domain. They have no right to do that. To strip people of their private property rights. So, he's even telling us what light bulbs we can buy. I the small things even. He thinks that's the right of government? No, that's fascist. You guys use that word all the time. I don't know if you are really acquainted with what it means. Look it up. So here's some other posts that I saw last night from my friend Brandon Morris. Now they have to deal with Trump the martyr. Yeah, they do. They didn't understand what they created. Clifton Duncan, he said the martyrdom of Donald Trump has to be one of the greatest unforced errors in modern American history. Yes, it is. Unforced errors. Yes. My friend Mikey, Mike Harlow, it doesn't matter if you like Trump or you don't like Trump. Mikey also doesn't like Trump. He, when he was on Timcast recently, which that's really funny that Tim's tweet showed up right below him. He was like asking me beforehand, I don't know if I should talk about the fact that, I really like DeSantis and I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole where we argue about it because and all of the grievances I have with Trump and he's not a big Trumper, woohoo Trumper, but now he's right. He's like, it doesn't matter if you like Trump or you don't like Trump, you have to vote for him. This cannot be allowed. And that's how a lot of people are feeling. They're the girl that said, I guess I'm MAGA now. My friend Billboard Chris, Trump has been found guilty on all counts, thereby ensuring he will be the next president of the United States. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far as Chris, because I don't trust the election system at all. So I don't trust that they're going to let him win. But the greater the margin, what he's right about is that Trump is much more popular now. Yes. And he's going to have a greater margin. And the greater the margin, some have told me they think that means, I think Brahma Bull was saying to me, that means it's going to be harder for them to get away with it when they try to cheat. Maybe, but I don't know. I think that's probably true. Make it harder for them at least. And also just to show them his numbers in the vote, whatever they end up doing with it, however many votes they add for Biden. I want them to see how many they have to add. I want them to see the popularity. This for me is a big middle finger to them, to the establishment. It's like, of course we're voting for him and we're going to make it a landslide regardless of what results you report. Here's another. I was undecided, but today's events have convinced me I'm voting for Trump. Here's another. I hate both candidates, but now I feel like I have to vote for Trump. I'm certain I'm not the only one who feels this way. Today was the day Donald Trump finally became president. This was Michael Knowles. I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for Trump with even greater enthusiasm in 2020. I will crawl over broken glass to vote for Trump in 2024. That's how the actual Trumpers, the ones who've been rah-rah Trump this whole time, that's how they're feeling. They're motivated. They're pumped. Yeah, I just let me show you this. This is that CNN article that I showed before about this double standard and why people are outraged at the system and why they want to give a big middle finger to the system. Thomas Massey, Representative Thomas Massey shared that same CNN piece earlier, and he said congressmen paid 17 million of taxpayer money for undisclosed hush payments to cover up sexual harassment claims. Meanwhile, candidate Trump allegedly used his money for a $130,000 hush payment, but he's convicted of 34 felonies for not disclosing. Also, the fact that they broke it up into 34 felonies, like they picked New York for a reason. They picked New York because of the bias they were going to get there from the judge and from the potential jury pool. They broke it up into 34 felonies instead of it being, one. They wanted to do as many as they could, and they also what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, this was a judge who's very soft on crime when it comes to like crime where people are hurting people, robbing people, attacking people, that kind of stuff, very soft, and will often take felony counts and reduce them to misdemeanors. He did the opposite in this case. He took a misdemeanor and made it a felony. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, this double standard that Representative Massey is pointing out is exactly why people are like, this is a banana republic we live in now. We've crossed the Rubicon, I've seen people saying. It'll never be the same. Now I'm not as demoralized as some that I've seen, because after the last election and what they did there, I just at that's when I was a bit demoralized. It was like, oh, wow, okay, they can get away with this and nobody cares. And it's like the big lie. It's accepted by the mainstream, by the powers that be, and it's put out into the mainstream media, and the written record will reflect that Biden won that election, and we're just going to all operate like he did. And it's what Hitler called the big lie. If you're going to tell a lie that convinces the mainstream, the majority of people, the written record, if you will, then you have to tell a very big lie. And that's what they did. And so I kind of had that reckoning back then. So this to me, maybe that's why it wasn't as demoralizing. It was like, oh yeah, total sham. And I kind of viewed it in a jubilant way because I know it's waking people up. And I know that now there's people coming off the bench and out of retirement, undecideds and non-voters and libertarians and RFK people who are now saying we're going to vote for Trump. Do I put all of my faith in one politician? No. That's something else somebody asked me last night. They're like, you know, what's the outcome? Do you think they're actually gonna let him win? I'm like, probably not, maybe not. And if they do let him win, I think I actually then would wonder if they're letting him win because they wanna see this escalating division in our country, and they know what the left would do if he wins. They know the left would be in the streets burning things and rioting. By the way, left, if you're liberals, did you notice last night there were no fires, there were no riots? Like, I don't know if that ever pierces the bubble that you're in, if you ever think about it, but ask yourself, it's an interesting observation, why the conservatives don't act like you do, and if the tables were turned, like, what would be happening? You know. The conservatives aren't out in the street burning down people's businesses and setting bonfires and wearing masks on their faces while they brutalize people and, you know, there's no revolution in the streets. I'm gonna take a quick break here. I've got more links to show you guys, but quick break just to say hi to some guys and take a look at your super chats. Thank you. Thank you, John West. John West just became a YouTube member. Welcome, John. Good to have you here at Deprogrammed. Beard for $5. Thank you, Beard says, I've talked with a lot of under 25 males who are under age 25. They are down and ready to make a future for themselves with force. They are embracing Mina Frago. I don't know what Mina Frago means. I'll have to look that up. Mina Frago. Hold on. Is that Pig Latin? Oh, oh, a slogan in Italian fascism. I don't care. We may die tomorrow, but I don't care. Ooh. Well, here's something that concerns me about that beard. It could be positive, it could be negative. It's probably a little of both. I'm all for people getting to that place of saying, we have nothing to lose. I'm all for people getting to that place because, and the way I got there is because I believe in God. Like, like I said, I don't put any faith in any politician saving us. We are going to have a societal collapse. It's just a matter of how long we can delay it and how many people we can wake up along the way. You know, if it's not the fiat currency that does it to us, it's going to be the degeneracy and declining morals, the bad ideology. You know, we are currently in a system that is woke ideology, social justice ideology is the predominant religion, and in that religion, the hierarchies are built not based on meritocracy, not based on who's the best for the job. They're built based on power and money and race and sex and all these things, and that's going to have a devastating impact on our culture because the people that are being promoted to the top of the hierarchies are not the people who deserve to be there, and they're not the most competent. And we're going to feel the consequences and the effects of that in society and over the next few, I don't know, many decades probably, but we're going to feel it more immediately in some fields. We're going to feel it more immediately in fields like medicine, healthcare, aviation, infrastructure, building bridges, all of that. We're going to feel it there. We're going to feel it in politics. We are feeling it in politics right now and in education, the effects of that. So all of that is happening, and it doesn't, in some way, to me, it doesn't matter if they put Trump in there or they put Biden in there next, because either way, we're still heading towards that societal collapse. I don't think one person can turn this around. We need a revival. We need a revival and a belief in God. And that comes from the ground up. And I think that's also starting to happen. I do. Even though they keep saying, oh, look at the declining rates of people going to churches. Yeah, it's the chaff blowing away. It's the chaff getting pulled into this dominant, degenerate religion of woke, let them go. The people who are lukewarm and who go wherever the wind blows with whatever's popular, let them go. They can keep up with the Joneses over there. They used to keep up with the Joneses in Christianity. They care about virtue signaling and what they look like and what people think of them. They're going to go with whatever's dominant. Let them go. Let them leave the churches. They're wasting everyone's time and their time there too, pretending. That's fine. But at the same time that I'm seeing those declining numbers, I'm also seeing people who are like the last you would ever have thought of finding God, having those redemptive moments, converting. God is working in people who are atheists, people who have the most checkered past, people who were living in the world, preaching things of the world, finding God. That's happening. Searchers, truth seekers. If you search for truth long enough, I think it will eventually lead you to God. God is truth. That's what happened to me. It did. I was one of the last people you'd ever, ever, ever think would be a Christian. It just makes me laugh thinking about it. And anybody who knows me, who's known me for a long time, the ones who are still with me, who are still friends with me, despite them thinking I'm weird now, you'd be laughing right along with me. Like, because I was very prejudiced against God and Christianity, and I thought I was so much smarter than believers, right? And so much more open-minded. Well, I was very close-minded, like a lot of people are to God. But that's where it leads you, and so that's happening. And so to get back to your point, Beard, I know this is a long way to get there, but I want people to find God, because once you've found God, you have nothing to lose, because there's nothing that they can take from you that matters more than your salvation and your relationship with God and your allegiance to God. God is up here, the state is down here, and you're also confident about who holds the world in his hands. God does. And so I want people to get to that place. And that's the positive side of young men, like you say, getting to that place of like, I don't care, and having nothing to fear. That's the positive side. The potentially negative side that I've seen, and I've criticized this in previous streams, you can go and watch the one if you're interested, called Beware of False Prophets. And that's where I was talking about some of these young men being easily manipulated. They're where they are rejecting one racist, totalitarian, authoritarian ideology, which is woke ideology, but then letting it trigger them to go to the other side of that same coin, to a racist, totalitarian, authoritarian ideology. And I don't think it's a lot of people doing that, but it seems to be, it might be a growing number of young men who are attracted to these despicable clown Nazis, like Nick Fuentes, that kind of stuff happening, where they're being attracted to actual white supremacy, and that's ridiculous. So that's my word of caution to people who have their eyes opened and who forcefully reject my old belief system, woke ideology. Just be careful you don't fall into the very same pit through a different door. Don't be that gullible. Don't let them manipulate you into just, the same coin, just a different side. I hope I articulated that well. Force of Light. Hey, ladies, Michelle. If you guys don't know Michelle and Natalie, go check them out. They do really fun watch-alongs. And what do the kids call them, Michelle? Where you're watching something for the first time, a movie for the first time, and react videos. And also, Michelle, every 2 weeks is on the Christian panel with me. It's one of my favorite people. She says Trump 2024. Yep. Skillet for $5. Thank you. Says I'll be voting for the unjustly convicted felon in November to get rid of the unconvicted felon. Right? Let me show you guys something else, because this is funny. This is Frank McCormick, my friend Chalkboard Heresy. If you haven't seen my interview with him, go and check it out. I got to interview him about being a teacher and watching the rise of woke ideology in the classroom. And so you can go and look for that. I think it's called Chalkboard Heresy. It might have his name in the title, Frank McCormick. Look at this tweet from his. He's killing it lately, and this just cracked me up. He says, "Hey, hey, hey." Well, he doesn't. I'm adding the hey, hey. "Trump is a convicted felon." All caps. That's a quote. And then he says, "No, he's a justice impacted individual." And he included this ridiculous headline from yesterday. This is part of the woke ideology where they're always trying to control people through thought. And the way you control people you control their thoughts, by controlling their language, just like in a cult. That's why they're always coming up with new definitions for words. And that's why they're always coming up with new words. They're creating new words and pushing them on the cult, and then they all start using them. Like in a tweet from the US Department of Labor this week, they called us menstruators, like as if that's normal to go around calling us menstruators. It is in their cult, and they want it to be normal. They want to call us menstruators. But this is one of their new phrases that they've created. You know how they say you can't call illegal aliens illegal. You have to say that they're non-citizens. Well, no, like you're trying to put citizen in the descriptor here. You're trying to no, they're illegal. We're not going to lie about what they are. They're illegal. They say, well, they're undocumented citizens. What are they doing in that phrase? They're calling them citizens. They're saying, oh, they just don't have their documentation, but they're citizens. That's how they change the way you think about things. Cults do, with giving you new terms. They tell you and they shame you if you use the old term, the correct term, illegal aliens, which tells you exactly what they are. They're here illegally. They're not citizens. Well, they've put out this new phrase, and this is from a news article yesterday. Criminals will soon be identified as justice impacted individuals. So that's all Trump is. He says he's not a convicted felon. You guys made the rules. You made the rules. He's just a justice impacted individual. Right? I love that. Thank you, Frank. John for $5. Tiger, hold on one second. My dog is really, I think he sees a cat outside that he wants. Anthony, if you're watching, if my husband's watching, I think Tiger wants out of this room. If you're not watching, I'll let him out in a minute. Okay. John, thank you for the $5. Says, look into the judge in the case. He should have recused himself over donations he made to back the blue and other things. Thanks, babe. I haven't looked up the judge yet. Thank you for that. I need to look into him as well. But I know based on what he was doing and making this a felony and making it 34 counts so they could make it sound like it was something big. This one thing. Oh, it's 34 counts, right? I know already he's biased. Pirate Tomsky, one of our mods, give it up for Pirate Tomsky. A member for 16 months says Megyn Kelly was pissed about this and on fire. Oh, thank you for letting me know. I saw one of her tweets. She was she was upset. Maybe I can go and find her video if we have time. Beard for $10. Thank you, Beard. He says, some of the things I've heard them say gives me hope. Others make me think of the Potacoma massacre and keeps me up at night. No one has done anything to stop this. You're talking about the guys who are the young men who are rejecting woke. That's what I assume you're talking about. Yeah. Hey, Michael Collier for $4.99. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting Deprogrammed. If you like the channel, if you like what I'm trying to do here, my main goal is to help wake up people who were in the cult I was in, the social justice, the woke cult, and pull them out of it. And I get encouraging messages from people who that's happened for them, who some of them, it's funny enough, if you're new here, if you're on the left and you're watching, you might be hate watching me. I'll have you know, some people who started hate watching me are now community members. So we'll see if that happens to you. But that's my main goal. And then I would say my second goal with it is to have fun and have laughs and to with people who are already awake and to kind of get through this crazy time in history together. And if you like the channel and you like those goals, please consider supporting. You can do so with super chats, or you can subscribe here at YouTube or at Locals or Subscribestar or Substack for a monthly fee. I think as low as $1 a month, you can do that. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Michael Collier says, gotta run. We'll catch us later. Great show. Thank you, sir. Okay. I think I'm all caught up with these. Oh, and Pirate put this up. He put up the link to that show I was mentioning, Beware the False Prophets. I'm sorry, I lost it. That was the Megyn Kelly one. I can't keep up with all the chats, Pirate. But he dropped in chat the link to that stream if you guys want to go and see it. Pirate says, I still hate watch, but she modded me, so I have to hang around now. That's how I'll get you. And also John or someone was like, don't tell them that, Keri, they'll leave. Don't tell them that they might convert. Oh, that's true. Oh, but they're so when you're in that cult, the ones who hate watch, the ones who are here with curiosity, I'm not talking about them, but the ones who watch because they hate me so much and they want to like find something I say that they hate or whatever. Like they have so much arrogance, they don't think they can be converted. So, aha. They don't think they can be red-pilled. Unfortunately, I can't click on that Megyn Kelly link from the chat. Links don't work for me in StreamYard, so I'm just going to try to pull it up, Pirate. Or you can send it to me on Twitter. Send it to me on Twitter if you get a chance. Okay, so I've gone over the polls. We've gone over the money, how he's raising so much more money. We've talked about why people view this as a travesty of justice and the election system. And by the way, everything that the elite, the powerful elite say is they are behaving right now. This ideology is behaving like a sociopath, like a psychopath, like a narcissist, and they engage in projection, which is something, if you've ever dealt with an individual narcissist or psychopath, you understand they do projection all the time. That's where they accuse you of what they're doing to you, and you can see them do this repeatedly. The example I give most often is the one of Justin Trudeau calling the Freedom Convoy truckers authoritarians. You've got an authoritarian government mouthpiece who's trying to, authoritarianism means something, right? The government control over individual liberty. It's an authoritarian government mouthpiece who was trying to restrict individual liberty and keep people from being able to make their own medical decisions and their own decisions for their own body. He was saying that the people who were fighting for medical freedom and for their liberty were authoritarians. That's insane. That's upside down. That's crazy. But they do this stuff all the time. That's the best example. But there are other examples, like, for example, when they did the election thing, I'm now on YouTube, I just talk about whatever I want. I'm waiting to see if they're gonna take this down. They haven't yet. When I talk about the election, it seems like they may have loosened up some of the censorship they were doing the past few years. If you're new here, you may not know this, but there's a whole list of topics we can't talk about. And most YouTubers will have code language or they won't talk about it at all. And I've recently decided I'm just going to start talking about it, see what happens. Because we have the Rumble channel as a backup now. So anyway, after they did what they did in the last election, completely tampering. I don't believe that for a second. If you believe Biden won, I mean, I, you're in a fantasy world. It's like crazy that you think that those huge amount of votes just showed up overnight magically for him. If you looked at the popularity, the people that were going to the Trump rallies versus his nearly empty rallies, there was no enthusiasm. You believe they had to tamper with it enough so that in the end, the final count was higher than what Obama got when Obama won. It's like, you really believe that there was that many people who voted for him? Just anecdotally, I mean, I knew progressives who voted for Trump, progressives who told me, they held their nose. They couldn't believe they were doing it. I mean, I voted for Trump. I didn't vote for him in 2016. I knew tons of people like me. And that was insane. And so after they did that and they pushed the big lie, they started engaging in projection. They started saying that the people who, with their own eyes, could observe that something was funky and possibly there was election interference and tampering and voter fraud. They started saying those people believe the big lie, which doesn't make any sense. It's projection, but it also doesn't make any sense because the big lie has to be a successful lie that's recorded in the written record that history believes that is a mainstream thing accepted by the establishment. And that was the lie that Biden won. That's the big lie, you dummies. You don't even understand what that phrase means. You try to use it on people who don't trust the establishment. It's it's about people who trust the establishment. That's who trust the mainstream narrative. That's what the phrase is about. So they engage in projection all the time. And oh man, I lost my train of thought. Sometimes I go down these rabbit holes with what I'm saying and I start giving examples. So I'm not just saying something casually without a hard and fast example and then I forget. But it'll come back to me. It usually does. That's okay. Melvin, let's not forget about the Time article where they bragged about fortifying the election. Oh, yeah, that was them. Just like a narcissist and sociopath, they kind of like to, in some ways, just admit what they did in a plausible deniability kind of way because they get off on it. It's like a killer returning to the scene of the crime, and that's what that Time article was them bragging. They loved it. They loved it like a sociopath doing that. Okay, I'm just checking to see what you guys are saying. And let's see, Pirate sent me a link. Okay, we're gonna watch a little bit of this Megan. But first, I want to show you Jeremy from the Quartering had a funny opening today about everything that's going on and about them thinking kind of the subject of my video about the left thinking this was going to hurt Trump's popularity and not understanding why it's not, which is what we're here to talk about. He had a great opening montage. Look at this.
Oh no. Oh my. Oh, yeah. What's going on, everyone? Jerry here from the Quarter.
That was so good. I love it. I love it. Go and check out his video too. He's got a short one about some of the same stuff. But that was the opening. I was just laughing. This is how, if you're on the left and you're just visiting here, let's say you're a tourist here today and you don't understand, you thought all the crazy Trump people you knew, maybe you think I'm one of those people and you're like, why aren't they upset? You know, I am upset about our our election process and democracy being destroyed. Oh, that was my point from earlier, is the projection. That was my point, is the left, like a sociopath, the elite leaders, the political leaders, like a sociopath, like a psychopath, like a narcissist, they keep confessing. Every accusation is a confession. And so they keep accusing their target of what they're doing. And so they have been saying constantly, if Trump wins, it's going to be the end of democracy. If Trump wins, it's the end of democracy. Well, that's because they are the ones ushering in the end of democracy. That's what they're doing. The end of this American experiment. It'll never be the same. And so there are people who are upset about that and demoralized, but some of us I already dealt with that demoralization, after what they did with the last election. So it's kind of, I didn't expect anything different. Yeah. Anyway, that opening was very funny. Okay, let's watch. Now this is a long video, and I haven't seen this yet. This is the one Pirate said we should look at. of Megyn Kelly being upset today. So the people who are still in that place of righteous indignation, it's a correct response. I think I just don't have a whole lot of it left. But let's see what she has to say.
Ridiculous. What a sad day. The country's been disgraced. That's what's happened. Alvin Bragg and this judge have disgraced the country.
Yeah.
We made it, almost 250 years without doing this. And now, because of falsified business records, we've convicted as a felon a former president of the United States. You don't think we could have done something like this to Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or others? We had a standard. We didn't do this in America. We aren't a banana republic, or at least we didn't used to be. And don't forget what's happened in this Trump case, in which he's now been found guilty of all 34 counts against him, which was overcharged to begin with. It shouldn't have been a case at all. And once charged, it should have been one count.
Yeah.
The whole case boils down to the same alleged scheme, but they stretched it into 34 counts by saying, and that check, and that check, and that check, and that.
This is what I was talking about earlier. It should have been one count, and they did this on purpose. And she's right. Banana Republic. That's what we are now. That's why it's like this experiment failed. This experiment was great while it lasted, but it's failed.
Invoice, and that invoice, it was all part of your scheme. So now he looks like Al Capone, convicted on these 34 counts. But the idea all along was to stop him from becoming president again. That's the idea behind this prosecution. That is the idea behind Letitia James bankrupting his company that he built, and along with his dad, from the ground up in New York.
Dan Trainer says, we still have God. Yes, we do. And that's why maybe that's why I'm not in this demoralization period. And like I said, I did go through it after the last election results, but I explained this already. Yeah, we still have God. I don't want to repeat myself, but we're going to face a societal collapse. We are, and yet I have joy and yet I have faith. Of course I do.
The city that just turned on him. That was the idea behind E. Jean Carroll and her sexual assault case brought 30 years after the fact, alleging a sexual assault / rape in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room, a case she couldn't even remember the year of the alleged rape in. And that's the idea behind Fannie Willis and Jack Smith ×2. Stop it. Stop him. Stop Trump. Why did they wait? Why didn't these cases come until right before the presidential election? The Democrats have been wringing their hands. Wasn't in time. We're not going to be able to call him a convicted felon unless you speed these things up. The judge in the DC January 6th case saying, I'll rush back. I'll come back from my European vacation. Don't you worry. If we get Supreme Court opinions allowing my case to go forward with Jack Smith, I'll be there. We've heard about the concern that Fannie Willis, her case is going up in appeal, but she's going to try to find some way to pedal to the metal it. We've heard, even in that January 6th case before Judge Chutkan, there may be a plan to try to get him tried, even after he wins, if he wins in November. We could have a trial of the president-elect in an effort to get him another conviction so they could convince electors to be unfaithful on January 6th of 2025. And that's where this whole...
Let me pause for a second. Let me just pull this down for a second. John says, it is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Deuteronomy 31:8. Exactly. My thoughts exactly. And hey, Texas Sheep Lady. She says, no, it has not failed. As James Lindsay said, we've just been mugged. Well, I think in a way it depends. I read Lindsay's tweets as well, and I agree with him on some of what he's saying about what happened yesterday. But in another way, I do think, let me figure out how to say this in the right way. I don't think we'll ever be in this configuration. I don't think we'll ever be the country that we were before, because I don't know how you put the genie back in the bottle. Our government was never intended to be this large, first of all. It was never intended to have, we've set up so many of these 3-letter agencies now that have no oversight. Basically, they just, these, the shadow government who stays in power regardless of who the president is. It was never intended to have this much of an interference in people's personal liberties in their lives. The government has it started taking over the duties of the church and the duties of the family. You've got those 3 pillars of society, the state, the church, the family. And currently, and for a while now, we've got the state trying to do all 3. And how do you roll that back? I'm like you guys. I'm on social media saying, yeah, defund all these agencies, defund them. But who's going to do that? I don't know. Some of you think Trump is going to do that. Do you think he's going to defund the Department of Education? I wish he would, but I don't think he's going to. And I don't know how you put that. I don't know how you put that back in the bottle. The government is so large now. I heard the stat once that said if the number of people who worked for the government, the federal government, were a country, it would be the 5th largest country in the world, or something crazy. I think that was in the Texas book. So in this configuration, I believe in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We've been watching the John Adams series, which I mentioned, and I have utmost respect for all the thought and wisdom and sincerity that the founders put into our founding documents. And I believe in all of those ideals. And I think those are going to carry on. This experiment's going to carry on. I just don't know if it's in this configuration or not. I'm not sure. And I do think we're going to face a societal collapse of some kind. Now, whether that's because of the dollar, because of fiat currency and what we did, detaching it from the gold standard, and whether that's what comes calling finally, or if it's just this woke ideology that's got roots in Marxism destroying us from the inside. I don't know. But I think we're going to hit that, unfortunately. I think we're going to hit that place. And then after that, we rebuild. It's like time is cyclical. History cyclical. It's that meme, good men create good times create weak men create bad times. We're in the bad times part right now. But you know what bad times create? Good men. That's the best I can describe it. Yeah, Arnara, she was talking about James Lindsay. Anthony, my husband, Anthony Garcia Music, is here. He says, read a book called The Devil's Chessboard. It gives a good insight into how and what is at work here and where we are headed. Yeah, he's currently reading this book all about the CIA, and everything he's telling me about it is, I want to make this one of the book club selections soon. Thanks for that, Anthony. We're also currently reading together the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, which is one of our book club selections now. Let me take a little break for advertisement here in the stream. Advertisement for book club. So we've got 2 that are scheduled that are coming up soon. I'll put this on the screen so you guys can see it. And if you want to join us, I want to get book club revived. The way we've been doing them is private video links. You can be on screen. You don't have to worry about it being aired. If you want to remain anonymous, anybody could always tape it. But the point is, we're not airing it to the public. But we're going to be doing a Zoom discussion, and you can turn your camera on or off if you want to be a part of it. And there's 2 books that we've got scheduled coming soon. The first one is on Thursday, June 6th. Now, I've had to reschedule this one because of busy times here and the stuff we're doing in our house, getting our house renovated. But this is not being moved again. This is when we're doing this one. Here we go. This is a new image that I created. I just really liked this picture of this flapper reading. So the next 2 coming up are Thursday, June 6th at 6:00 Central. And we're reading this book, The Queering of the American Child, How a New School Religious Cult Poisons the Minds and Bodies of Normal Kids by Logan Lansing and James Lindsay. I've already read it. This is a great book. I highly recommend it if you want to better understand the queer theory part of the woke cult of social justice ideology. That's what it's specifically about. And we're going to be talking about it with Deprogrammed folks on Thursday, June 6th at 6:00 Central. So if you want to be a part of the book club, here's what you need to do. Email me at deprogrammedpod@gmail.com. And in the subject, put book club, and then let me know which ones you want to join. Let me know your screen name so I kind of know who you are and everything. And we're going to give you a Zoom link. The other one that's coming up is Thursday, July 18th, 6:00 Central. Again, we're going to be talking about the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, and it's by Benjamin Franklin. And this book is so fascinating. I just started reading it because my husband was reading it and telling me so much about it. And he wrote out, this is a good maybe enticement to get you to read it. It's not boring. It's not what this is going to be a boring historical book. No, it's so fascinating because it's almost like his diary. He's writing it to his young son at the beginning anyway. But it's a man who is grappling with his own vices and trying to become a more virtuous person. And he wrote out this list of the 13 virtues that he was going to try and grow in himself. And it's a little bit like Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, except it's 13, and it's Ben Franklin's 13 Rules for Life is what it is. And so I can't wait to talk about this one. I hope you'll join us. You got a little bit to read that one because it's not going to be until July. Again, that one's going to be on Thursday, July 18th at 6:00 Central. So those are the 2 book club coming up. Hey, Laura. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Well, I think we're towards the end. I'm going to wrap this up instead of hanging out for a long time because we are renovating the house, as some of you know, and we're finally in the music parlor, which is where we have our house concerts when we do them. We're finally doing the floors, which I'm so excited about. And so we've got some more work to do. And we also have an update for anyone just curious. The exterior of our house, we have a team coming to start work on that in a week or 2, week and a half, which I can't wait. We're very excited about getting some of this stuff done. And you know what? I'll just say now, if you're in Texas and you want to get on the house concert list, you can also email me at deprogrammedpod@gmail.com. And in the subject, just put house concerts and let me know your screen name or something identifying about you. And we'll let you know when our next one is going to be. But the floors will be done for the next one. So that'll be cool. And yeah, let's see. John, member for 10 months. Thank you, John, says, I pray that Trump learns from his past. We should be praying for our leaders. The last Christian panel we got to do this past Wednesday, if you haven't seen it, Samuel Say was our special guest. I think it's one of the best episodes yet because it's so current and relevant to what we're going through in the world. It was about how your Christian faith affects your politics. And so I would definitely recommend going and checking it out. It's with myself, Brahmable, Michelle from Force of Light, Odin from OMB Reviews, and Samuel Say. And one of the things people were talking about in that discussion was about praying for our leaders, even for the ones you don't like. So that means if you're here and you're a Trump hater, that means praying for Trump. And if you're here and you hate Biden, that means praying for Biden. And don't do a bullshit prayer where you're just like, I pray that bad things happen to this. That's not a prayer. No. No, you have to pray. If it's someone you don't like, a good one that I do is that I pray that they are surrounded by light and truth and love. And that it is so blinding, that truth is so blinding, it causes them to open their eyes, to have eyes to see and ears to hear. That's a pretty good one you can do if it makes you feel gross praying for someone you don't like. Because, I mean, I think that's a good one to start with. And as far as praying for Trump, I pray that he weathers this as a one human being who is the face of it. Again, I don't think this is about him. It could be anyone who were in his position doing this. But for him, it's about him. Of course, he is the individual being persecuted here. So I don't know what that's like. I can't even imagine. So I pray for him to have strength. And I pray for him to have good advisors. I don't think he's a very good person, but I think he's a lot better person than Biden. And I pray that he becomes an even better person. And I pray that he has people around him who are people of good character. I know in the past he's had some shady people advising him. I hope he has good people advising him right now. Hey, Brahma Bull. Brahma Bull's here. Member for 8 months. Thank you so much. Brahma Bull. He says, Costner as Robin Hood. Oh, it's a quote. Then by God, we take it back. Yes. I'm fired up, Brahma. I'm pumped. You know, last night's thing for me, it's like, let's go. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Come on. We got all these new people now who are saying they're coming off the bench. They're in for Trump. Let's do it. Welcome. Welcome, libertarians. Also, the libertarians, oh my goodness, the libertarians they're upset. I've been hearing from some libertarians, some of you in the chat who've written me on Twitter, and they are bummed because you guys nominated a woke, ridiculous weirdo as your presidential nominee, Chase Oliver. And so a lot of you are like, you know, I'm not voting for this mass woke person. He's no different from the left. Well, welcome. I understand. Welcome. Beard for $2 says, I think we are facing an Israel and Judea situation. I need to read more about it. Honestly, I'm still making my way through the Bible and history. Thank you for that. Mark became a new member. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for supporting Deprogrammed. Oh, and I need to let me go over to Rumble and say, I need to do this more often. I know I've got some Rumble rants. So D Chadwick at Rumble for $10. Thank you. Says, look at pre-Hitler Germany to see things that are going on now. Yes, exactly. Thank you, D Chadwick. They always talk about things they pretend they know about, and they don't know. I think they know. Well, I know they know a lot less about history than I do, and I know very little because I was in the woke cult for 2 decades. And when you're in that cult, they don't encourage you to read history. History was written by white men. It was written by the oppressor and the colonizer. They have this very contemptuous view of history and art. They look down their noses at the music masters. They want to trash everything that's traditional and normal. They want to trash everything that came before us, and they don't read history. So I've been doing my best to learn as much as I can since I left that cult. I got really excited to read again, like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was a voracious reader. And then when I got into the woke cult, I just started reading the approved cult literature. And that was pretty much it. I would get the approved, angry, outraged cult literature, but I wasn't reading history. And I wasn't at that time. It sort of killed my curiosity. I've said it before. It was like I put my mind in a cage of my own building, my own creation. And once I got out of that cage for good, I was hungry for knowledge, for history, for music, for art, for things I didn't know. I was full of curiosity, and I'm still in that place now. It's amazing. It's a kind of freedom that you don't know when you're in it. And if you are in that cult and you're watching, and maybe you don't think it's a cult, you're going to get offended that I even said that word, but I get that. I understand. Let me just ask you, if you think you hate me or you don't understand me and you are on the left and you're watching, let me ask you a couple questions. Do you often find yourself in a place of not understanding people on the right or people like myself? Does that happen to you? Do you often find that you are dealing with background anxiety a lot? Like sort of surface level, like right under the surface anxiety that's constant? Are you on prescription medication for depression or anxiety? Do you find yourself easily provoked to outrage and anger? Are you in that place a lot? Um, are you able to have conversations with people like me who disagree with you without getting very emotional about it? Is that possible or no? Are you friends with people who have different opinions than you or no? Do you know any gay people who are not woke? Why not? I'm sorry to laugh, but why not? Really? Do you think all Black people have the same opinion? Do you question, "Oh, I didn't even touch on this today. Trump is doing great in the Black vote. His polls among Black people higher than any Republican ever." Does that, if you're a white person on the left, does that make you go, "Why? I don't get it." Why is his popularity climbing with Black people? Does that give you pause? Uh, do you know any Black people who are not woke? Why not? Those are just some questions I would ask my old self. And so if you're in the left and you're here visiting, ask yourself those things and really think about them. It can't hurt, right? Oh, sorry, I still had that on the screen that whole time. Sorry, Mark. Art photographer Lindsay. Hey, Lindsay. Member for 11 months says the woke left hate beauty and goodness, sadly. They do, but the ones who you're right. The left hates beauty, goodness, truth. It's the opposite of those things. But the ones who are in it, they wouldn't say that they hate beauty and goodness. They're not cognizant of it on that level. It's like when you're in a cult, and think of any cult. Think of I don't know, Jim Jones or something, right? When they're, or Heaven's Gate, when they're in this cult, you're not operating in reality and you're kind of detached from yourself and your own motivations, and you're being easily controlled, but you don't realize it. But you do have some of those things I just asked questions about. You have this like kind of deep level, anxiety level that's always there. You are unable to have conversations calmly with people who disagree with you. You get really upset. You don't know how, because you don't know how to defend your positions. That's the thing. Because your ideology hasn't equipped you to do that. You're living in this place of cognitive dissonance, and it sucks. It sucks. It gives you a lot of anxiety and depression. And you're definitely unable to step back and look at the ideology objectively and say, this ideology I'm in hates beauty and truth and goodness. And it does. But they can't see that. It's like a fish in water who doesn't see the water. A lot of them still, when I was in it, I didn't realize I was in a belief system, right? I didn't know I was in, I didn't know I had a belief system. I did. I had a belief, but I wasn't aware of it. If you had asked me that, I would have said, what do you mean belief system? I'm agnostic. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. I think I covered most everything I wanted to cover. Oh, one last thing. I did have this pulled up to show you. Just like kind of again, this is a question for the woke or for people on the left who are watching. So, you know how I asked you, do you ever look around yourself and you notice that the people you hate so much, the conservatives or the right or the Trumpers or whatever, however you characterize them, they're not out in the streets rioting, they're not burning things down, even today. And if the tables were turned, you know that the left would be doing that. Um, but they're not out there doing that. They're not even out there protesting, really. I mean, do you see major cities taken over by protests? No. And does that ever give you pause that they don't behave the way you guys do, that your side does? I don't know. But here's another way in which I think in general they behave differently. This was one of the potential jurors in the Trump trial who was honest about being biased towards Trump and didn't think she could be impartial. Oh, sorry, that wasn't the right button. And so she was rejected from the jury. And I just want, as you listen to this lady, I want you to ask yourself, do you believe that there could be one or more people on the jury and we're talking about New York, who have a bias against Trump, like maybe you do, maybe they hate him as much as you do, who, when they were asked the question, do you think you would have trouble being impartial? Do you think that there could be at least one person, maybe more, who lied and were not honest, that they would have trouble being impartial? Do you think so? Come on now. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real. This is in New York. I am willing to bet that there were many people, and I'm not saying all, but many people in that jury who hate Trump and who couldn't wait to be on this jury. And when they asked the question of the jurors, do you think you're going to be able to be impartial? They were like, yes, like knowing that they weren't. Of course that happened. Of course. And so looking at this, I want you to ask yourself, what kind of character this woman has that you don't have maybe, or that those other people in the jury didn't have. I think this is something admirable as a human character, a characteristic. This is something you should want. This is truthfulness and integrity. And this is a woman being honest about her inability to be impartial. So she was, and why don't you see that on your side? Why don't you see that integrity? I don't know.
I do. This is Kat. She runs a VC fund here in Manhattan for folks that are over 60 years of age. She was just dismissed as a potential juror. What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow. When did you first come?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday. And at that point, when did you realize that this was a trial involving the ex-president of the United States, Donald Trump?
So we were here on Tuesday from 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But we realized that it's about this case on 4 p.m. We went into the courtroom and we showed Donald Trump.
You went into the courtroom at 4 p.m. on Tuesday
Exactly.
and you see Donald Trump.
Yeah, we didn't know before that.
What was your first thought?
I was shocked. I was sitting on the second row, like 6 feet away. And when I realized that Trump is there, I was like, oh, wow. I couldn't believe it.
What about the people around you?
Everybody was shocked. Everybody was frozen. No, like frozen, no expressions, nothing. We were all, that was the case.
Did he look back at you? Did any of the attorneys look back at you at that time?
Sometimes Trump would turn his head.
Yeah.
But that was it, yeah. He didn't stand up or anything.
Were you following the case before this?
I didn't really. I'm too busy.
You're too busy. You knew
Can I just say how reasonable? I know you guys on the left, again, I hope you're watching, and you have so many characterizations of people who are who are supportive of Trump in the slightest, or say they couldn't be impartial, right? In the slightest. You have this caricature of what people are. And look at this woman. She's cool and she's normal. Were you following the trial? No, I'm too busy. And and what a cool lady. And she's just like, well, they asked if you could be impartial and I couldn't. So I raised my hand. I was honest. Like, I mean, just asking you to think about the caricature you have of people who might vote for Trump and 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 try and be honest with yourself if it is a reasonable and fair caricature.
He was on trial, or you knew he was
I
going
knew,
to trial?
yeah, it's just the headlines, but yeah, too busy to read the details.
Have you ever served as a juror before?
No, that's my first time because I just became a citizen in August.
Yeah.
And that was my first call. And that
So
was,
you just became.
By the way, this is something else a lot of you guys on the left are not aware of, but a lot of legal immigrants, that's an important word there, legal immigrants, support Trump. A lot of legal immigrants are opposed to illegal immigration. Imagine that. Imagine why that might be.
A citizen of the United States. So that means you've never voted in a presidential election.
Exactly.
You get called to be a juror, and this is the jury that you are called to.
Yes.
What was that? Is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
I know.
What was your impression of Donald Trump when you saw him?
He looked less orange, definitely, like more yellowish, yellow. Nothing else than that. He doesn't look angry, or I think he looks bored, like he wants this to finish and go do his stuff. That's how
Did you have any discussions with other jurors when you left the room about kind of how huge this case was, how historic it was going to be?
Yeah, everybody.
What were they saying? What were you guys talking about?
About this, it's a historical case, and this is going to define so many things. But at the same time, our job as a juror, right, is to be impartial, like to be unbiased. So it was weird, like the whole atmosphere, like, such an important case at the same time. Yeah.
Did you talk to anybody that really wanted to serve in that jury?
That anybody that they wanted
Any of
to
the
serve?
other jurors that you spoke to, were there people that said, I want to do this, I want to serve on this jury, I want to be a part of this? Did anybody voice that to you?
They feel the duty, definitely.
They feel the duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it.
Did you feel that duty as being a new citizen of this country? Was there a part of you that said, I want to serve?
I feel the duty, yeah. I'm a citizen, yeah, and I have responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I feel the duty, yeah.
Does this make you want to follow this case even more?
Not really.
No?
No.
Wow. Well, Kat.
So normal and reasonable and honest that she could not be impartial. I don't know why the left's not like that. I wonder why. I'm going to close with this. This is a great quote. Dion, the queen of quotes, is here. And so she shared this one. This is why humor is so important, and this is why they hate humor. Quote, what monstrous absurdities and paradoxes have resisted whole batteries of serious arguments and then crumbled swiftly into dust before the ringing death knell of a laugh. Agnes Replier. I hope I said that right. Thank you, Dion. What a great quote. Crumbled before the death knell of a laugh. Keep your sense of humor, guys. Keep your joy. Buckle up. Trump's popularity is going to keep climbing now. They've made him into a hero and a martyr, and they're persecuting him. So buckle up. We've got lots of new people coming off the bench who are now politically motivated and engaged and are going to vote for him. His donations are up. It's going to be a very interesting few months leading up to the election. So let's maintain our humor and joy. I will see you, Mr. Batsu. Great. That's why the far left can't stand you laughing at them. Keep laughing. Exactly. They hate it. They hate laughter. I will see you guys on Monday. Quick quick update. I know the Kevin Spacey stream got taken down by YouTube, and so we did the rest of it on Rumble. That was on Monday. I know I said I was going to do a part 2, but I got taken over with the floor that we were renovating in the music parlor, and so I didn't do that one. I am going to do it at some point, but it will be a Rumble thing. It'll just be Rumble because I want to come back to that topic and show some more of that docuseries, and I can't do that on YouTube. So for people that were asking, it is going to happen. It just didn't happen this week, and I apologize. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.